I rarely nap, Tommy, because it throws off my sleep schedule. But with the 10-hour drive ahead of me tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the thing for you. Yeah, you got to do the game tonight, post-game, show in the morning. And you don't have a co-captain with you, do you?
Nope, not this time, because my the buddies that I came up here with, who actually, it was funny, they play golf with Chris Dooley. They had left on. They were so mad because they tried to get off work every way imaginable, as I know other Arkansas fans did, but they had to go back. But we had a solid weekend, and hopefully it continues tonight with the win against the Baylor Bears, and we will continue on that conversation with our guy Tom Murphy. By the way, David Smoke of Sikkim 365 is going to be joining us at 8 o'clock to get more in-depth on what the Baylor Bears are providing. But, Tom, let's go back first to the Oral Roberts game. And Arkansas slowly but surely clawed away in the second half. They still haven't shot that well. Tom, what do you think the pivotal moment in that basketball game was to give Arkansas the victory? And don't give the just cliche Devo shot. What stood out to you in that game?
I guess it was just a kind of a slow comeback, right? It wasn't all done at once, but when ORU did not shoot as well to start the second half, I think that was the key. It was kind of like UCLA last night, but Alabama couldn't capitalize. But Arkansas did, and Arkansas's got to find a way to get games into more of a free flow. And it's going to be a little tougher against Baylor, which shoots the ball really well. But Arkansas's half-court sets were not electric. They were not. There was a lot of, to me, forced stuff, a lot of one-on-one. I thought Moses Moody played more individual basketball than he's done in a while. Wound up 4 of 20. When they were making their comeback, J.D. Note came in there, and I don't know what kind of thing he did down on the left baseline that I think it hit off the side of the backboard, and I don't think he played a whole lot after that. So they've got to find a way to help create more for each other when they're in their man sets in the half court, because that was not pretty. And this is going to be just a tough assignment against Baylor tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned Moses Moody's struggles not just this last game, but just hasn't shot the ball well for the NCAA tournament. Tommy always goes back to one phrase: he's due or they're due. I mean, when you look at the guards that, and I know Moses is more of a wing, but he, like Davion Mitchell and Maceo Teague and Jared Butler, this is a tough matchup for Arkansas's guards tonight. How big of a factor is it that Moses Moody has a big-time outing against the Baylor Bears tonight?
It's almost essential that he has to play better to start with, but they've got to make shots. I mean, they shot 1 of 8, was it, from three-point range? It was almost as if it wasn't really part of their deal. And I know it's not the be-all, end-all, and when a team like Bama doesn't do it well from three-point range, they're susceptible, although it was their free-throw shooting they choked on last night. But they've got to be – I think three-point shot has got to be part of their arsenal. It's a way to make up deficits sometimes. It's a way to push ahead. And in games where they've shot it well, they've done some real damage to folks. I think they've got to be better across the board, and I do believe that they're due a better performance. It's just that Baylor, when you look at them, they're the best three-point shooting team in the country, 40.8%, best in the country. Their overall field goal is 17th in the country, and their top 7 scorers all shoot 45.5% or better, and 6 of the 7 are at 47% or better. And Arkansas is not close to that. Yeah. So I think Baylor can get you a lot of different ways. They can get you with pressure defense. They can get you with three-point shooting. They're athletic. They fell behind Wisconsin early and then just kind of ran past them. They present a lot of challenges. And Davion Mitchell, 6'2" guard, shooting 52%. You don't see that very often.
Morning Rush live from Indianapolis this morning, getting ready for the Elite Eight tonight. Tom Murphy on the phone with us. Tom, Jalen Tate has been such a, I don't know if surprise hero is the right word, but he has been, you don't win without him. You're not playing tonight without Jalen Tate. What do you think the key to his rise offensively has been over the last few ball games?
It was as much necessity as anything. I mean, there was a matchup when Max Asma was on him, they had to take advantage of that. And they were struggling in their half-court sets, as I mentioned, and they felt like that was a go-to matchup. And he did a great job getting down on the blocks, getting into the paint, and getting guys up in the air and hitting some short shots in that stretch where they really needed it, where it was a tie game and they'd go up 2. And then, of course, his last one was the one that put him up by 1. And then on the last play, he draws the help because that's what they've been doing for multiple possessions in a row since about the 5-minute mark, and is able to hit Davis without anybody right in his face for, a pretty much uncontested 8-footer to win the game. But Tate was huge, and I just think it was I had been worried that they weren't going to Moody enough down the stretch in certain games. But in this game, they had to go to Tate because Moody was having an off night.
Yeah. Points in the paint have been huge for Arkansas. We've seen these games without Connor Vanover playing the last 2 ball games. Really hadn't played much in the tournament at all. Is there a role for him, the 7-3 post for Arkansas, or is this game going to be at a pace that he doesn't factor in the game plan again?
Well, my thought would be more the latter. Mm-hmm. But if he can hit a couple of threes for you, he's pulling out the defense. He's making better driving lanes. I think it's just the defensive side of it that, sometimes he gives some blow-bys. Sometimes he's not as quick off his feet on backside rebounding and things like that. So that's a tough call. And, hey, it was a little surprising Jalen Williams did not play a whole lot in the ORU game. So that's the good thing about the Razorback roster. They can be very adaptable. But it was good to see Desi Sills come off the bench and give them a little something the other night. I think between Desi, Connor Vanover, maybe even Vance Jackson, who hasn't played in the tournament, they need a little something, some kind of spark off the bench to have a shot.
We're talking with Tom Murphy live from Indianapolis, Indiana, here on the Morning Rush. Tom, when you think about this basketball team, you think about what Eric Musselman has been able to create. I've heard it's hard for me to necessarily just feel what it was like in the 94 and 95 and really just the 90s, and if you want to go back to 80s, because I wasn't alive. What are you getting the sense from this fan base about how they're feeling? Do you sense anything, and I know you weren't covering the team then, but do you sense any similarities between what's going on right now this season and what was happening for Arkansas basketball in the 90s?
Well, I mean, absolutely. They've lit a fire under the fan base that has lived with, basically mediocre basketball for the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. And not that this was completely unexpected, but to win close games like this, I think Arkansas fans in a way had been conditioned to, tight games, pressure games in the postseason. They did not have a good record in recent years, and for them to win shooting so badly as the way they did against Oral Roberts, that there's something special about the team. And because of social media, there's a lot more, takes out there, so to speak. And, Arkansas fans, with the football run that they've been on, this has just been, a godsend that basketball and baseball at the same time are just, kicking butt and having big performances in clutch situations.
Yeah. When you look at the success that's having this year, how do you bottle that? How do you sustain this? Is it as simple as keeping Eric Musselman as your head coach? How does this program not go back to the mediocre basketball for the last quarter century that we've lived through?
I feel like they're going to continue to recruit at the level that they are, and it's about putting the pieces together. And that's what I think this coaching staff has done so masterfully, is manage the minutes, manage everyone on the team's expectations and egos and whatever it takes, and to make them buy into the team concept. And, when you've got a guy like Moses Moody, who's your star, who is the embodiment of playing for the team, I mean, what he said, I want to see the confetti come down. That's what I want to get done in this tournament.
Yeah.
Then that helps you. And they've done a great job of it. And I don't see why they won't continue to master the transfer portal and grad transfers and recruit at a high level, because when they brought in a class with Davis and Moody and Robinson and Williams that was very, very well regarded. I just see that retain Eric Musselman, pay him at the right rate, and watch this thing grow.
All right, let's call a timeout on basketball for just a second. Then I want to come back and talk about some of the keys for tonight's game before we get out of here. But we got to mention baseball because that can't get lost in all of the conversation this morning when Arkansas went and played Mississippi State, 1 versus 2, 2 versus 3, depends on what poll you're looking at. We were talking last week, if Arkansas can win at least 1, maybe 2, you feel like you've really done something. Tom, they go and sweep the Mississippi State Bulldogs at Dudy Noble. This is not something that the road team's been able to do in this series as of late. The home team has dominated it, and Arkansas goes in and leaves no doubt this weekend with a series sweep of the Bulldogs.
I predicted a series win for Mississippi State 2-1, and I was wrong. I just think Arkansas's depth in their batting lineup was a big key in this. They hit 9 home runs, 3 each by Matt Goodhart, Christian Franklin, which was huge. I just think their pitching staff out-dueled, and I think Mississippi State went into this number 2 or 3 in the country in their ERA at 2.30, and today it's at 2.97. So they bumped up that team's ERA 0.67 in one weekend, which is not easy to do. They lit up a couple of their second guy, Will Bednar, had no ERA, and I think in about the 5th inning they started lighting them up. They just do a great job of making in-game adjustments, seeing what a pitcher's doing to get them out, and getting ahead of that. And I think the Arkansas bullpen took this as a challenge. And to me, kind of the understated MVPs of the weekend were Peyton Paulette and Kevin Kopps, who gave you long relief on Friday and Saturday that was extraordinary. And look, Mississippi State's bullpen is really, really good. That kid Sims yesterday, unbelievable. Yeah. But Arkansas went in there and got it done. And there's a little bit more to this team than maybe I thought early on. Guys like Caden Wallace settling in and being quality hitters in the middle of your lineup. And it's been phenomenal to see. Even though guys like Franklin and Moore and a few others don't have great batting averages, Goodhart, I think when the season warms up, it gets warmer, I think those batting averages will climb too. And
I think it should also be pointed out, Arkansas did this in front of basically a full house at Dudy Noble. They opened it all up this weekend. This was a postseason-type atmosphere, and Arkansas didn't wilt a bit.
No, they did not. In fact, they thrived in it. And that big 11-run game on Saturday was something else. Not a lot of fans came back after the big rain delay. And then yesterday the crowd was down some too because they wanted to see their team go out and stomp what was the number 1 team in the country, and it did not happen. So kudos to Dave Van Horn and them. UCA 9-11 coming up tomorrow night. Hadn't been a great season, but ULR came in here and put 17 on the Razorbacks a couple years ago. So they might be reminded of that going into tomorrow's game.
Tom Murphy with us live from Indianapolis, Indiana, here at the Elite 8 on the Morning Rush. Tom, before we let you go, I want to come back to the game tonight. Baylor, Arkansas, 8:57 Central Time, 8:15 pregame show beginning here on ESPN Arkansas. In order for the Razorbacks to defeat the best team they've played all season, what are Tom's biggest keys to tonight's game?
Got to stay on the boards with them. I mean, if Baylor can win the rebound battle by 6, 8, 10, I just don't think there's a chance. They've got to make them uncomfortable some in their half-court offense, and Arkansas doesn't get enough credit for ranking highly in their defensive efficiency like they do, and I just think that's so imperative. You've got to make them a little uncomfortable and hit the defensive boards, or Baylor has the capacity to put a hurting on you. So that's it for me.
Hardest game Arkansas's played all year? I know the most pressure and the most at stake, but is this the toughest opponent Arkansas's seen all season?
Well, it would rank up there with Alabama in its best flow in that road game when they lost by 31. That was a tough game. But this one on the stage that it's on is big time. It's the number 2 team in the country, and this is a huge, difficult assignment.
All right.
Tom, we'll recap it on Thursday. We'll talk some Arkansas baseball and a heck of a lot more and some more NCAA tournament stuff. Appreciate your time as always, buddy, and we'll talk then, okay?
Awesome, dude. Y'all see you later.